Who would have thought that we need to actually smarten down our message if we want to get more success and more cut through? Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Let's get stuck in right now and make sure we get the guts out of these short, sharp, simply. Let's do it. If we really stop and think about it, we've been told numerous times in our life, personally with friends, maybe professionally, we've had colleagues talk to us about, we've got to dumb it down. We get told that we shouldn't use jargon. Too much of the academic side flows through into our professional careers, and we become too preoccupied with, trying to use big words and big terminologies and, sprout about how we might even make ourselves feel great by talking at that type of level. The more we tend to use big words and explain really, long-winded, heavily thought out, overly complicated words and stories and diagnoses, the more it might actually make us feel better or that we really understand it. We've also got that that little thing in the back of our head that keeps telling us that we need to make sure that our clients or patients understand what we're saying and that they believe that we know what's best. And so many people have fallen into that trap of actually being in a situation where we overly complicate things. We talk too much technical jargon and use a whole lot of stuff that people don't care about, and ultimately at the end of the day we get told we should be dumbing it down to an 8-year-old level. Well, fundamentally, we shouldn't be dumbing it down to an 8-year-old level. What we should be doing is smartening it down to an 8-year-old level. See, if you can get an 8-year-old to understand what you're trying to diagnose, what you're trying to educate a client on, what you're trying to help a team member with a challenging situation resolve, then ultimately you're creating a scenario where you are going to make it really simple, and simple things sell. Simplifying words, simplifying phrases, simplifying the somewhat difficult diagnosis is much easier for people to resonate with, be accountable for working with you. You don't create overwhelm. But the challenge is it's not about dumbing down. It's about smartening it down, because it's actually a lot harder than what people pay, well, it's not a pay issue, but it's what pay attention, I guess, in many respects. We try and think that we've got to dumb it down to the level of an 8-year-old, but it's actually a lot harder than what you think. You can't just simply dumb it down, because you're not actually dumbing it down. It's actually smartening it down. It's a completely wrong context here. We need to be able to invest more time into this. It's not simply good enough to be able to say, dumb it down, don't use the big terminology, don't use that language. You actually have to stop and think. You have to stop and plan this out to get a better story as to how to explain it, or to use a more simplified metaphor to explain something. We have to actually stop and work our own skills and our own language to make sure that we have certain ways of explaining some of the key diagnosis, key injuries or factors of what we're doing or how we're treating. We need to be a lot smarter at doing that, because to make it, dumb it down to the 8-year-old level isn't actually working, and it doesn't work. It takes a lot of creativity, and it does take some time for therapists to be able to smarten it down, because keeping things simple is not what we're accustomed to doing. We always get more tests to do. We have special tests, right? We can't just diagnose with normal testing. We have to have special tests. We have to increase more complexity. We're always taught at university to be more detail orientated, to go and explain how our workings out. Even back at school days when you do mathematics, they give you 4 points if you got 2 points or 3 points. Let's say you got 2 out of 3, right, for getting the right answer. but you could only get 3 out of 3 if you got the right answer with the right explanation and the right working out. Now, we understand why people are doing that, but what it actually does is it convolutes ourselves into thinking that what we have to be able to do is justify everything, have a complex rationale. We need to explain everything step by step. We need to be able to, do this and then that and that because, ultimately patients need to understand. Well, they do need to understand, but it's not actually as simple as just remove all the technical stuff, the jargon, etc. It's not like that. Even right now, this is a really clunky podcast for me, to be brutally honest, if I want to be direct with myself. I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit. I start to go, it's a really simple topic, but even to be able to explain the avenue of how we need to simplify things down is actually quite tricky for me to do in a podcast. So I think the main message here for all of us is we need to always make sure that we simplify to multiply. If we want to grow things and scale things and have more success, we need to be able to make the simple things stand out. We need to be really efficient and effective at doing the simple things right and then be able to accelerate more into that. And that's just like our client load. We need to be able to simplify our terminology, simplify our explanations down. But these things take time. They take the ability to stop and think rather than just doing things on the fly. We can't just fake it till we make it. We can't just say and do whatever we want and find ourselves, using too much jargon and, rubbish that they don't know or don't care for. People don't get impressed by you, overwhelming them with a whole lot of information they don't understand. At the end of the day, it needs to be kept simple. But we need to be able to invest the time and effort into simplifying that message so that we actually are smartening it down so an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old can understand it. And it's the same for business. We need to be able to smarten our message down so that even a first-year-out graduate can understand very clearly what we're trying to say and do, how we can better work with clients, how we can get the right client engagement, how we can get better patient outcomes. All of that comes about by us smartening things down, not taking that mentality of dumbing it down. Now, I got 3 daughters, 7, 10, and nearly 12. I've got a few interesting years coming up. I totally understand that. But I'm learning this in so many different ways that it does actually take a lot of challenging times and a lot of difficult thought processes to smarten things down to an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or 12-year-old level. But when we do this, we get a very simple explanation that's effective, it's efficient, and it always drives a much better result that we're more pleased with and proud of, and that they are too. And so when we stop and think about the parallels for me and my children and how we do everything with our children growing up, it's exactly the same as how we should be working with our clients. So we really have to smarten things down. But don't just walk in saying, I've got to dumb it down. I'm going to pull out all the terminology, all the technical stuff and the jargon, etc. because, I need to dumb it down, but it's now smartening it down. No. Please invest the time and effort. Before you walk into a crucial conversation or a difficult conversation with a team member, make sure you have it planned out. Make sure you have it very simplified, but make sure you're smartening it down. You're not discrediting someone or disempowering someone. You're not just taking out the big words and terminology and therefore convoluting the whole situation. Or worst case, maybe disrespecting the situation or the person. So there's a lot of things here at play that we need to stop and think about, but ultimately, let's not take the mentality of dumbing things down. Because we're not. Don't put ourselves on a pedestal. It's actually, are you good enough? And are you good enough with your expertise and your authority to smarten down your message? Are you good enough to make it simpler and quicker in what you're saying to drive a better result? Because that's actually a form of huge amounts of intelligence and experience and authority and etc. So if you can do that, then great. I think we should be challenging ourselves to get a better result quicker, to be able to get the information across more efficiently and effectively in the right way. And that takes a lot of effort. That's actually smartening things down, not dumbing things down. Something to think about, something for all of us to work on. Let's go and make sure we smarten things down, not try and dumb them down. Because if we want success and we want to be able to have more impact, we really do need to be able to smarten it down to the 8-year-old level. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.